All right, I would like to call this meeting to order. I know that the certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. Is that correct, Lexi?
Yep, I believe so.
All right, let's have a roll call of the committee members, please.
Wayland here.
Lyon here.
Anderson here.
Thorgy here.
Galazinski here.
Okay, I think that's everyone. Can we go to the adoption of the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. If we can get an adoption of the February 3rd minutes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Wonderful, motion carries. Public comment. We have a call-in number that is 715-538-1894. 715-538-1894. And we'll continue the meeting while we leave that open. And if we get a call, we'll certainly deal with that as we go forward. Right now, if we could go right into the Great River Road update with Jean, that would be awesome.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing fine. The Great River Road report this month is the team just got back from the Chicago Travel and Writer Show in Chicago. It went well. They were in the same spot they were in last year, and there wasn't there was less traffic than last year, but still very successful. And our Wisconsin Great River Road visitor guides were passed out, which of course Trempealeau County is part of. Then we are in the process of reviewing the layout of the 2026 Wisconsin Great River Road Visitors Guide. There are 50,000 copies that are being printed, and the goal is to have them printed and ready to distribute April 1st. So I'm excited about that. We are still working on our new website, which I'm also excited about. We haven't had a new one since 2017. WGCOT, which is the Wisconsin Governor's Conference on Tourism, is meeting in Milwaukee March 15th through the 17th. And a report that we have from Drew Nussbaum, and he is our Wisconsin Department of Tourism Development Specialist, just emailed us the Longwoods International American Travel Sentiment Wave 104 study, and a couple of the things I found interesting. The demand for travel in 2026 is about 90% for travelers, and they've still indicated that they will be traveling in the next 6 months. And, that might change how things are going. 2026, if everybody remembers, is the year of the Great American Road Trip. And I think, Alexi, and maybe I thought Rebecca was helping maybe the city of Whitehall or the Whitehall Chamber with doing an event. I'll have to double check with her. The next point was third of American travelers say that they will take an overnight trip to attend special sporting events. 34% of the American travelers will take an overnight trip for sporting events such as professional, college, or international. One of the concerns is the fuel prices going up a little bit. And another thing is some people indicated that inflation has concerns, so they will be deciding if they will leave their state and go someplace else or do staycations, as we call it, which means, stay in the state of Wisconsin, but travel north, south, east, or west, different places they have never been. And hopefully, with all the marketing that Trumpealeau County is doing, as well as the Wisconsin Great River Road, we will get people to our counties and enjoy all the beautiful things that we have to offer. And that is my report for you all today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jean. We appreciate that.
Hey, Gene, this is Buzz. I got a question. We've never talked about this in the committee or anything, but is there a parallel effort to our Great River Road on the Minnesota side? Are people looping the river, so to speak, from La Crosse to like Red Wing?
Yes, we have a lot of our base is Minneapolis, and a lot of them come down and then cross over, either in Hudson or at Red Wing, and then come south. We're working on getting them down farther this way, and then to cross over. And they're kind of like, I don't know what the word, Buzz, would be, like triangulation, maybe that might be the word. And we do work with the Mississippi River Parkway Commission, which is all 10 states that border the Mississippi River. Unfortunately, we don't pay for our visitor guides and stuff to go to the other states, and that's what they want. However, there are some places that we can take them, that will take them for us. And I believe Trempealeau County is a partner with Visit Winona, but we definitely do what we can to, get our information out and about. And I'm really hoping that with our new website, we'll get more attention.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions for Jean? Wonderful. Lexi, if you'll take us into the communications report, please.
Yes. Oh, let me reshare. Okay, so first up we have our social media report. Note that this is for the government page. We saw an increase from last month on our views. And then if we look at our tourism page, our engagement was down. Part of that is I've been meeting with Susan on our social media policy and the comment policy that we are currently lacking compared to other counties. And so we're just trying to be a little bit more diligent on what we're sharing until we get some of that nailed down. And Susan was going to be here today if she wasn't out, but she did ask if we could wait to talk more about advertising until May, when she'd be able to join with the new board and just some regulations around that. I think I might have misspoke a little bit last month that I think I had suggested that we would promote agritourism and natural resources, and Susan did inform me that that is still not allowed because we'd still only be picking one, and I believe someone else had pointed that out. So it would be an all or nothing situation. We would essentially have no say in any of those businesses if they didn't align with values of the county. So she wants to go a little bit more in depth with that, and then would be going in depth with the new board on that as well. Then the carbon monoxide grant, you will be starting to see that campaign running. So Danny did work on those for us before her departure, and the first post will be going out later today, and then there will be a video going out the rest of the month, each week.
What all is involved with that grant?
With that grant, from our perspective, we're doing a lot of education with Health and Human Services and then creating posts for social media. So they are distributing all of the carbon monoxide detectors, and then we partnered with them. Kevin went and filmed with the Whitehall Fire Department, and then we created social media, like little snippets, so reels for those, and then it's also on WTCO's
So
channels.
does some of them get distributed throughout the county then?
Yeah, so all of them should be distributed throughout the county. I'm unsure of how many she had, but when I had met with her, she'd gone over that with me. Nothing that I really had much of a say on or input in. But
So did this grant include money and the detectors?
yes, or included the money and then she bought the detectors with it.
Okay.
Is this something like the Red Cross is putting on?
I'm not sure. She's targeting, I think, the elderly community to make sure that their carbon monoxide.
And
Because
what's the grant?
90% of the
Okay.
problems with a carbon monoxide detector, why they go off is cooking smells.
Okay.
Carbon monoxide is only good for like 5 to 6 years, and they got a filter in them and they absorb the cooking smells, and that's why they go off.
Okay.
You cook a lot?
No, but I go on the calls.
No, you're the one who gets to find out somebody was cooking.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what it is, and you know, curiosity kills the cat. You pull them apart, and that filter's just yellow in there.
Well, and when you go on vacation and you cook in the cabin, it invariably goes off. I thought it was just because it was a small enclosed area, but maybe that's it.
Yeah.
It's the
Makes sense.
cooking. Because I'm frying fish.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what it is, you know, cooking odors get in there, and it's a contaminant.
Yeah, if you want more details on the grant, Angela is who you'd want to reach out to. So I don't want to misquote anything that she had. Working on the comment policy, I met with Susan last week, and we will have a final version by the end of March. I would be bringing that forward then. I believe it'll go to the county board because it would be impacting all social medias equivalent with the county. And it's essentially already things that we know, but just formalized and written, then it'll be pinned on our social media. So noting that if you are a member of the public and you make a comment, it will be public record and saved within our systems.
Are there also restrictions, language, that kind of thing? Thank you.
Yes. So I think it goes A through K on restrictions of comment. Yes, Buzz?
Okay.
Lexi, I kind of missed your first comment regarding Susan, what we could and could not advertise. You go back to that. I didn't catch, was something about ag tourism. I thought you mentioned that we were not able to advertise that.
Yes, so I misspoke last meeting where I thought we could pick just to focus on ag tourism and natural resources.
Okay.
And we can't pick ag tourism, so it would be all or nothing. All businesses or none. But then it also is a different level if we would start to accept money. And Susan can talk more on that. I trust her expertise over mine.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so that was the next point. Met with Corp Council. We discussed marketing efforts and what's falling within state statute. She's coming in May and we'll discuss more. And then, oh, I did not update this, but we've been working through the donation policy, social calendar, the post-tracking spreadsheet, the internal newsletter, and then I've been learning the new Tyler system, which is the accounting system. That's been a fun time. And then lastly, the strategic plan. There will be changes coming with our team structure since we had a team member leave. I don't have any additional details. I'll have more after next week on how that's going to impact the goals that are for our department. I'm meeting with Becky on Friday, so that's why I'm delayed, just so I can give you guys the best update possible on that one. Any questions for communication? Lori, do you want me to move into tourism, or do you have to tell me to move into that?
Yep, no, let's go right into tourism and the economic development update.
Okay, so starting with the Great River Road, I met last week with or not last week, earlier last month, and they're looking to promote the section that goes through our county. And so I've been working with them. They wanted to do some different stories on the communities that are on the Great River Road. And specifically, I think Prairie du Chien is going to be doing some different articles on day trips into that area. And they didn't have much knowledge, so I've just been having conversations with them so they can write that. We're beginning work on the tourism website. So the first meeting is next Monday, starting at 12:30. Pilch and Barnett will be there. Businesses are invited to attend, and we're planning on having additional touch points on that. And then that was the plan for the tourism website was already approved, I believe, within the first round of the GEM grant. So it'd be continuing that work. The AARP Community Challenge grants are due tomorrow, and I am just putting on the final details on those, and then we will submit those for Pigeon and Gilsville. The housing study, I have this as an agenda point too, but so we're continuing to work with Hannah. Survey is done. There might be an edit now after exec finance yesterday. They wanted to review it and all of the questions. It's about 32 pages. And then the boxes are gonna go out to the libraries the first week of March where we would have printed copies. This might be delayed now after that meeting yesterday if there's changes to be made. But the study would be open, or the survey would be open for about a month once it does get approved and finalized.
What's the objectives of that housing study? It's interesting because I know Mississippi River Regional Planning is also doing some housing study work. And I know one of the communities they're going to focus on is Osseo. So are these complementary? Is this part of the Mississippi River Regional Planning housing study? Is this an independent effort? Can you give a little more detail there, please, Lexi?
Yeah, from my knowledge, I believe they would be complimentary, but I haven't heard anything. I can ask Hannah and follow up with you via email. But
That'd be great.
Oh, Becky's on. Maybe Becky's gonna give us a comment. Hi, Becky. Oh, we can't hear you.
No.
You able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. No, sorry, I'm just not, hi, everyone. I apologize for not being in the room, but I'm just not feeling the greatest. So I just didn't want to carry anything in. So I thought I'd attend virtual. Just thought I'd step in that, this is primarily Trempealeau County housing, and that we're looking at north, middle, and south of the county. Not that we can't, I know I've been in contact also with the La Crosse economic development. And so that both of those kind of communities, village of Trempealeau and that area and Galesville kind of fit into that plan, as well as Osseo into the northern part. But so anyway, but it is primarily for the county itself. And that survey, I went through it. It moves along really quick online. It's very easy to take, and it focuses on a lot of perceptions from individuals in the county and how they perceive housing, a little bit of childcare questions in there, and looking at affordability questions that are involved in those questions as well, or within that survey as well.
Becky, does it look at the quality as well as the amount of housing? I had an extremely interesting interview with our dean of students at Osseo schools after the report cards came out, and it was incredibly interesting. He brought his computer right out to the house, and we were going through a lot of things regarding that assessment of school. But one of the major things that they thought was driving some of the issues, especially in the school with the students and performance, was the quality of housing in our community. And because we actually got a very low, we had a 63 for a school district rating, which I thought if I would have got a 63, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys today. And so it was just interesting how performance in the school was related to availability and type of housing in the community. It was his perception. And I didn't know if any of these housing studies were able to work with the school district to really confirm or not confirm that that's a very big issue in some of our communities.
That is a component of the survey. There are a number of questions that talk about the upkeep of homes in communities. So that is an area of interest as well. I appreciate your thoughts on that, though, and agree. It could be something, the survey is to guide us as we go into the budget year for the supervisors at the end of this year for 2027, and looking at possibilities of housing programs that we can put into place here locally. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. And we have an upcoming housing developer meeting that's going to be happening mid-month. And Hannah and myself, and then I've invited the Village of Trempealeau city administrator, as well as Whitehall administrator, as well as the mayor of Osseo, who he is designating someone from the city of Osseo to go to that developer meeting, where we will sit as a county team, and then housing developers come to that that meet and greet. So they're able to go around to counties and meet counties that are interested in working with housing developers. So we're really looking forward to that. But all of that is hopeful to set us up for programs that we can put into place in 2027.
Is this housing survey currently available on the county website? And if so, Lexi or somebody, could you send me a link to that? I want to get that to our school district.
It is not currently, so we just, like Lexi had said, it just went to exec finance yesterday. We added 2 questions to it. Hannah has that completed. And so now, what I'd like to work with Lexi on now in the next few weeks here is getting information out saying the survey's coming, it's going to be launched March 30th. March 30th is the kickoff day for our housing and childcare task force group that will be working through these housing and childcare issues and talking through this and working through this survey, collecting the data and having this put into a report for us so that that group can bring recommendations to the county board. And we hope to have the housing study completed then by probably end of August, beginning of September. So you will get that information,
Okay.
and I think you're absolutely right that we'll team up with the school districts to make sure that we're getting it out to as many people as possible, and using their resources, as their connections and resources to hopefully get their buy-in and business, our business partners, that they get it to their employees.
Well, I guess I'm most concerned that some of that, those folks who often are forced into some of that lower end housing, we hear from them to get their perceptions. But it seems to be a huge driver in our particular community.
Do you think
And
Dairyland would be able to help us with getting that out and making sure a representative group are responding to that?
Pardon me?
Do you think Dairyland would be able to help us with that?
Well, I'm wondering if our school district would be
Okay,
a better focal point for some of those people within them. I don't know. You'd have to approach the soups or whoever in the school districts. I mean, they often are the people that are working with these families closest. Often is what I mean. I spent a couple hours on a Sunday night with this guy. He drove right out from town. It was amazing, and there was a real eye opener for what I didn't see in our community that's going on.
and I have, oh, I'm sorry, I have an upcoming meeting with the superintendents that's coming up soon. And so actually beginning of April, but before that, I can get that out to them. And then at that meeting, I'll reiterate that how important that is. I'm sure that they'll be helpful to us in that.
Yeah.
I think that's a
I'll
great,
follow up on a one-on-one on this end too.
perfect.
Just put it out there.
That'd be great.
I know when Hannah and I talked, we were hoping, like, where I go to school, we get a weekly or a monthly newsletter. We're hoping that they could possibly put it in that for each school district. So we haven't looked into it farther than that idea, but hoping that's a possibility.
And Buzz, just to reflect on what you're saying, with my previous job, I got to a lot of the households in the county as far as actually visiting farms and places. The range of what we have housing in Trempealeau County is amazing. From the basics that you've got 3 families in a house to not even running water yet. So I echo what you're saying, is having sat there and had supper with some of these people, that there are real challenges out there housing-wise, and it does impact students tremendously.
Well, as an example too, Kevin, following up, winter, it would have been 24, 25. We had a family living in a tent out in the Eau Claire County forest because they couldn't afford housing. And that came right from the school superintendent. So we have challenges.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Okay,
on- Oh, okay. we'll
Lexi,
keep
I just have, sorry, I just have one other question on just in general here. You mentioned the strategic plan a little bit and that you and Becky are going to meet on Friday, which is amazing and great. One of the things that hopefully you guys will have an opportunity to talk with about is possibly some when you look at the different projects that you're either going to choose or not choose, if you can do some give us some examples of some time studies or like how long is it going to take to do certain projects or what we might have to give up, those kinds of things. If you could bring us back some data and information on that and maybe how we can take this team member opportunity and look and see if there's a way to combine or take any of those opportunities to combine things and priorities. I don't know if that's an opportunity at all, Becky, but if you guys could look at that, I know from a board standpoint, we would only want to get involved, obviously, in the strategic plan piece of it, but I think that anytime we have these opportunities, that gives us a chance to look at are there better ways to do things, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of the focus of our meeting
Wonderful.
before we just go ahead and post the position again. We want to just
Great.
talk about that and kind of determine, are we on the right track or what needs to be changed or added to that? Yep.
Wonderful. Way ahead of me. Good girl. All righty. Anything else, Lexi, on, I think you kind of hit on the social media stuff. Is there anything else that you need to report on?
Yep. I'm still going through it, so I think it got
Okay, you
taken
go
off the
right ahead,
screen.
girl.
Okay, promotion videos of the county and areas to explore. I met with Kevin. We have a solid plan in place, and we're gonna start to work on those once it gets prettier out. But we're gonna focus a lot on drone footage and then shorter videos promoting the area. Quarterly business meetings and the newsletter group. The first emails going out to the businesses in the area. I might go out tomorrow, otherwise I might wait until after the meeting that we have on Monday. So that will be out though either way by the end of next week. I met with a couple of businesses and kind of asked for their feedback on if they think that's a good idea and what they'd like to see in it, and they seemed pretty excited about it. So I'm hoping that the momentum will continue there. Then just
Good.
touching on the Make My Move grant that was submitted at the end of January, and I'm working with Abby there to set up our website. There's still not been any news or questions from the WEDC. Question for you guys, we had a request for like a graphics map of the communities, and we would look to start at Centerville, but then it would go out to the rest of the communities. If we wanted to do this, I would need to go to you guys and then the county board to create a policy on how that's distributed. So I will show you an example. Give me a second. I've got all of the screens open. Where did it hide on me? Here we go. Hang on one more second. It's still thinking. So the focus, while I'm pulling this up, is to get people to realize specifically in Centerville that there's a lot of businesses there. So they're trying to get more people from the Winona area. And this is showing the whole county, which could possibly be the end goal. But it would be focusing on like those Centerville businesses. They want to work together to showcase like how close El Maro, Schwertels, the Berry Market, Ferguson's, Pizza, Eckers, how close all of those are to each other. And then also noting like gas stations, restaurants, and then the nature views to do. So if we would do that, you guys would have to set the policy on if they need to be done at once and distribute it all at the same time, or if we could go in phases. So I know that Centerville is gonna work on it either with or without us. But if we have the chance to try to make it a little bit more uniform and work with them, it could be a bigger help. And then also focusing on something like that for the website coming out in the fall.
Would that have anything that we'd have trouble with when we take it to Susan as far as the advertising and the ag tourism thing, does this relate at all to the policy that we would set with what you approached previously?
So that's kind of how we got started talking about it. She said the biggest deal would be making sure that all businesses are represented. So we would have to reach out to them and make sure that they're on board. But if we do it by community, we might be able to focus in a little bit. It might be smoother. We also, I need to talk to Becky about it yet, tossed around the idea of if we focus more on chambers and if we can support the chambers and then they would put it out, it would be a lot less on us. But then I brought up, what about towns that don't have a chamber? Who are they going to partner up with?
Like
So
Centerville.
there's some things that we would need to discuss and determine if that's a way we can get around some of the limitations we have as a government entity, is if we can focus on the chambers. So Sauk County, for example, they focus on their chambers, but when you look at their social media, they don't promote the Dells to say, so they're never promoting like the Kalahari or something. Theirs is all the natural resources and then promoting their chambers. So.
How
One,
many
one
of
of the things you might look at is if there's a way to have businesses submit their own, or places to submit their own. That's the other thing that sort of helps you with the liability issues.
Yes, so we did talk about that. I really want to make sure that's on the options for our new website. And then, but making sure that we are communicating with them more than posting it on Facebook, like submit your stuff here to make sure that everyone's
Yes.
getting a chance. So
Yep.
she didn't seem scared about it, but there would be some different things to consider with it.
Just as
Sure.
a point of question on that, how many of our communities have a chamber?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
Because I think it's pretty low as far as percentage.
Arcadia, Whitehall, Osseo, Galesville, Trempealeau. I think that's it.
Leva does not.
Aleva doesn't.
Osseo.
Blair has a business group.
Okay.
That's a new one. But like, I know for like Ettrick is missing. Centerville doesn't have one. Independence doesn't have one. Typically I reach out to
North
like.
Creek doesn't have one.
North Creek. I reach out to Independence Library to get information from them, but that doesn't necessarily fall on their scope, I believe. But, so I think that we'd have to look at that too and see which communities are lacking and how they would get representation. So.
Nope.
So I think I may have missed it. Who is spearheading? You said this came to your attention because of the Centerville group. Who is spearheading that movement?
So I was hoping that we could spearhead it and start with Centerville, and then it would trickle down to Trempealeau, but then it'd be which community would come next.
But the map you were showing, sorry, I didn't make myself clear. The map you were showing covered, well, that's an example of Sauk County.
But this is like the example
Right.
of the graphics that they
Yeah.
want. They want something a little bit more animated and not just like a map like we have available on Beacon. Something that's
this-
cute.
So this
what
would be
that
just Trempealeau County? This would be just Trempealeau County, or would be areas, like
It'd be-
encompassing Winona?
It would not encompass Winona.
Okay.
It would be just areas in Trempealeau County, just the communities. Ideally, it would be piecing the towns together before we could get a large map, because we could get the smaller communities to focus in on their needs and their requests for it before we could get a large map together. And if we get the large map, focus on this for December, like we had talked about last meeting.
Thank you.
But I know
Now,
they're
Lori, how
asking.
does this, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, their
Okay.
ask is to try to get people before we would start working in December on that next.
And,
Kind
and
of a-
that's great. Lexi, who, I would assume that's, you said somebody is spearheading this, right? Because they're gonna do it with or without you, which is, understood, great. But who, is it a group in Centerville that's doing that? Because they don't have a chamber, right? But there must be a group then.
Yeah, it would be the businesses on that strip. They're all working together. I told them I would ask about it, depending what I'd hear back. If it's a no from us having involvement, then they would go off on their own.
So is this to be sort of something besides our visitor's guide? Because the visitor's guide is not necessarily going to have advertisements.
Well, this isn't really advertising. It's just showing what's there, how close it is. But it's all of the businesses in Centerville would be on it. But they don't, necessarily what it is it's a timing issue. We can't make a map with every single business to get out here in the spring.
I
And
guess that's
so-
what I was getting at, is my concern is that
Yeah.
it's not all the businesses. But anyway, I'm sure there's a lot more issues that I don't know about, so, sorry.
So,
But I guess from a technical standpoint, Lori, I mean, how much of this, whenever we go, you go to Google Maps on your screen in your vehicle and you type in whatever you want to do and it kind of pops up. My concern is, would people use it much if a lot of the stuff's already out there on the day-to-day stuff we use to get around, like Google Maps?
What Centerville is doing is very powerful, and it's what we should be doing as a group. One of the things that they are, I guess that I could explain it is, it's like if you have, if let's say Schwartels has 10,000 followers on their social media, and Eckers has another 10,000, and maybe the pizza place has another 10,000 or whatever. All of a sudden, you're working with 30,000 different people, where instead of just your 10,000, you're now working with 30,000. So those algorithms really kind of work differently when it comes to looking on your phone and saying, basically find something near me. If you do that nowadays, it's very much paid, and it's very different than it's been in the past. So it is very, very important to work together. Also, people, I can tell you from the campground standpoint, the first thing they ask when they go to a rural community is, what's there to do around there? So they want to know that there's multiple things to do. So I think that I think it's sort of really terrible kind of what amount of advertising that we do have out there for, all the wonderful things that we do have for in the county to do. And I commend these folks in Centerville for, looking for a way to figure out how can we work together? How can we figure out a way to be more powerful together? Because, nobody really is competition. It's all about, oh my gosh, there's something great going on in this town. And then, once you bring those people in, for that business, it's just contagious and everybody benefits. So yeah, it's extremely important. So whether they end up doing it themselves or whether we can support and help them, which I think that I honestly think we're way behind the ball on this anyway. We need to have a healthy and great visitors guide. We need to have those things that support our businesses and our communities. You can talk all you want about tourism, but if you don't have any materials to get people here, I don't know how you're going to get them there. You have to have support materials. So, and I know I hear this all the time, this is county, it's not a business. I get it. But Lord, it takes a long time to do stuff. And it sure doesn't take that long, in businesses. And I think that's probably what frustrates those little communities is when they work together, they can get stuff done. I think we should sort of take a look at that and say, yeah, let's partner, let's get together, let's make this stuff happen.
Well, if I could interject real quick, I will just say that Lexi and I have taken that as we would be the facilitator to try to bring those conversations together. So we've coordinated a couple meetings already with this group to bring in the Explore Lacrosse. Because
Good.
exactly what Lori is saying is we want to build week-long things for people to do because they want to come and do multiple things. So we, and as a part of that first conversation, then it spilled over into how are you partnering with the village of Trempealeau? How are you partnering with Galesville as well as Explore Lacrosse? So now there's a further meeting that will come that will be thinking more on that whole regional piece. And I think it's the same thing with housing and childcare in these discussions is we do kind of have to start to look at the southern part, the middle, and the northern part, because there are different things happening in each of those areas, and it's just too hard to lump it all together. So I think that this is a really good direction. I think you're absolutely right, Laura. I think it's very exciting, and they're interested. And so when you start to hear them saying, we're going to do it ourselves anyway,
Yep, yep.
that's exactly what we want. We'll just be there as support and fill in the holes, how we can help.
You bet. Yep, I think and I think we should support them any way that we can, because it just makes sense. And absolutely, Lexi, those are things that you can certainly use on your Facebook and promote that, hey, this group is starting this, make sure that you get involved, let people know. I mean, that should be part of, I think, what we're doing. You're absolutely right on that, Becky. We should be the sort of central communicators, if you will, at least take on that piece of it to try to get the word out there, If it was me, like I said, that would be what I would want to do. I'd want to be the go-to person on that and have that information so that I could share it with everyone else.
Okay. Any other?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. So more to come on that. That will continue to be the central communicators on that, but then let them run with it is kind of what I'm gathering. Okay.
That seems like a good plan.
Okay.
Yep.
So down the road, I think too, when they ask from us, is helping them with a QR code. Is there any concerns about that if I make them a free QR code that they can print off and have at their businesses that would showcase their map?
I think that's an excellent idea. There's a lot of,
Yes,
computer
absolutely,
is the way
100%.
these days, yeah.
Okay.
Well, then you're not limited by size, Lexi. If you can get a QR code that you can get to a big site that way, then you're not
Yes.
limited. That's what I think would be the challenge when you make everything pretty good size. The whole county of Trempealeau is going to be a very large graphic.
Yeah. So, okay. We will continue work on that and I'll continue to give you guys updates.
Good
And-
girl.
Okay, that I'm almost done, Lori. So outdoor rec, just continuing on this with the Strum Trails, Water Trails, Trumbull County Music Series, Petrix Park Enhancement, and Bike Trails. GEM Grant Year 2. I do have a question on this. So it's due, this next round of the grant is due April 1st. Do I need a motion or a resolution to apply, or should I come back to the board if we would get the grant on where to deposit the money?
Becky, you probably can speak on this as well, but I think that the county does have some policy that says that in order to apply for grants, you have to go to certain committees prior to.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
Becky, I should have asked you.
No, that's all right. That's what I would say.
Okay.
I would absolutely say that we should have a motion then to apply for that second year. It's especially since we already got 1 year of it.
This
Can
is
we get a
Jean. I'll
motion?
make that motion.
Thank you, Jean. Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Great. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry.
Okay.
And Lexi, you go ahead.
Okay. And then the last thing out here would be the Trumbull County website redesign. So I'm connecting with Tim. And a lot of these changes are going to be to meet ADA compliance, which is required to meet for our county by April 2027. So more to come on that and what that will all entail. Okay, I'm done with the
Wonderful.
TED one.
All right. Anybody have any questions at all for Lexi? Or anything communication wise? All right, then I think the next thing is a Petrich Park Enhancement Project update from Jack.
All right, so Jack is out on paternity. Yeah, Jack is out on paternity leave for the time being. So I have mostly a lot of informative stuff to go over with you guys, and a lot of it has to do with the Petrich Park enhancement. If you're keeping track of minutes, I have a bunch of numbers, and I will give them to you after the meeting, so.
Okay,
So just a few things that have happened. The security cameras have been installed at the park. They're up and running. IT has access, I have access, Jack has access. The views are fine. The retention policy is where it needs to be, and we've got good views, and I'm able to see the traffic that's going in and out of the park over the weekends, the people that are out there walking their dogs and just wandering around the park, which is fine, and it's, looks good for me. Another project I'm gonna be looking on for the enhancement of the park later this year is to add some more lighting to that parking lot area around the main bathrooms and the main sign. I know we have some lights, but I just don't think they're all turned on now, but I'm gonna try to add just a few more to kind of illuminate at least that parking lot area that's right there, so we can get a better view of people coming in at 11 o'clock at night that are driving in at 2 in the morning, stuff like that. So that's, again, this is just informative for your stuff. We're not making any motions for actions, anything yet. I do have a meeting with someone from the highway department to start setting up a tentative budget, because I have that X amount of dollars in capital improvements to start putting some blacktop down. I'm not saying that I'm going with the highway department, but they're gonna give me a number to work off of, so then when I put it out the bid, I kind of know if I'm gonna be able to do this amount of square feet or this amount of square feet. So that I should have a number by, and hopefully have bids going out for that in April. I've been working on pricing out some playground equipment, because we also have capital project funds for replacing or upgrading the existing playground equipment. So I do have some sole source providers for that. So we have, I think it's $20,000 to replace the swings or the slide or a few other things, but that playground equipment is not, it's not cheap. So we are looking around to try to see what we can do, because I don't think I'll be able to afford to replace all of it, but I know there's some broken things out there that I'd like to replace and at least add one more structure if we can. And then there's a last one that just
one
goes.
thing, not to interrupt you there, but one thing, Becky, for your information, this is not necessarily a county thing, but WACO, the Wisconsin Association of Campground Owners, has their expo coming up. And Becky, that is the 13th and 14th, and I can probably get you in as a guest if you're available, and you can come up and look at some of that equipment and some of the things that might be helpful.
Nice, I'll connect with
for
you
that.
on that.
Yep, just give me just connect and we can go from there.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. When Jack gets back to, I'm going to sit down and then we're going to go over, because there's another capital improvement line item that has funds in it for improvements at the park. So we're going to decide whether it's going to be some stuff on that upper shelter. I know that they had some issues with their septic system last year, so doing some repairs to that. So we're just going to kind of narrow that down, figure out what we're going to put out the bid for that. I've been going over the actual enhancement project that we're doing with SRF. So I reached out to Phil last week, who's the contact that Jack's been working with at that SRF, just to kind of get an overview of the project. Because before Jack left, I asked him to give me a copy of the contract that the county signed with them. When that came back, it mostly has all the verbiage in it, has to do with the bridge and a pond. It has not much to do with the natural play area that's sitting in there. So I just need an actual scope of work, because on the next line item on the agenda, it says for the signing, which I do have some prices for signage, but I don't know if that's included in this overall project for the natural play area, because I've seen some things that says trails, that says play area, that says signage, that says a few other things. So before I put out anything for the sign, I need to know if that's included in this total $800,000 package or not. 800,000 with the 400 grant, with the 400 that would come from the county. That's for the total cost of this natural play area. But again, there's no full scope of work. And I know there's got to be one somewhere, but Jack just didn't have it, and what they sent me didn't have it updated. Because again, going through that, we contracted with them, it looks like it was when Dave Carlson was in place, to get the plans for this. And the county paid $13,000 for the plans for the pond and the bridge, and then that got pushed off to this natural play area. And right now, we still owe that firm another $14,000 on top of the $24,000 that we've already paid for this. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to scrap any of this, but I need to know exactly what we're getting. And all the plans that I've seen with what they've shown on the last meeting just showed kind of that play structure area. So we're We're still working on
I
that.
think we'd all be excited to see what we're actually getting. That would be great.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why, like I said, it's nothing's on hold. I just haven't heard back from Phil yet. And with Jack being out, I can't get all the answers I need. I know he'll be remote from time to time, but he's not back until, is it like the 16th or the 18th or something like that later this month. So still working with that. But now when it comes to the funding, so I know that it's the Knowles Nelson grant, which is for 400,000 and change. That once that award letter has been given, we have 3 years to spend that money, from what I've read. The award letter hasn't been received yet, but it's anticipated to get that here within, I believe it's the second quarter of this year, maybe at some point. And then going through the existing funds that the park has, we have $264,725.14 in the Park Reserve Fund. I also have another $100,000 that's set aside as a capital project for this year that was allocated for parks that should be going towards this. And then there's an additional $110,439.63 remaining in the CapEx funding, which is where you guys had me pay for the cameras for. But then going back through past motions and minutes, it was awarded to the parks and then kind of pushed back from the parks on exec finance because there was, I'm not sure that belongs 100% to the parks yet. So that 110,000 is still floating up in the air. If all of that can go to the parks, well, then we'd have $400,000 to pay for that right now to cover the county's portion, which leads into the Winona Foundation that Jack had in last month to go over setting up a Friends of and a donation policy to help get that. So I met with Susan, and we're making some changes to that county's donation policy so we can actually do this in-house, because I went over that contract with that Winona Foundation. While it's not bad, there were some questionable things in there that I questioned and then that Susan questioned, that when it came to, there's a minimum $500 fee that goes along with that, which is addressed at $125 due quarterly, or 1.7% of the balance that's in your account. So if we were to put, $400,000 in there, well, that fee goes to $6,800 a quarter for them managing the account. That's how it's worded. That's how I saw it. That's how Susan saw it. Now, I did reach out to that Winona Foundation, and they said we could, obviously have a conversation about that verbiage. But in my opinion, if we can keep it in-house, even the $500, there's no sense in paying that fee if I can do the donation policy in-house. And there's a separate account that's a non-lapsing account, that's a donated account that can go towards this. The other question that I had with Susan, and she's out the rest of this week, so I don't have a clear answer on that, is if, let's say we have this $400,000 that's county funds now between Park Reserve and the $100,000. If I were to spend that, I can't necessarily replace that if we open up a donation policy. I can't take the donations for the park to replace those funds. We would just be spending that $400,000 on this, and then any future projects we could do with those donated funds. So again, I know I'm just doing a lot of speaking and throwing numbers out there, but this is just what I've seen over the past few weeks. And unfortunately with my initial responsibilities of my job, I've been focusing a lot of this construction stuff, but that is about 98% completed. So pretty soon I'll be able to donate a little bit more, use a little bit more of my time towards the park stuff. And then Jack's going to be moving down closer to me, so we're going to be able to work closer together here pretty soon, because there's still, like I said, quite a few things that were questionable for me. So the Winona Foundation, that's why they're not on the agenda this month, because I'm still going to go over that stuff with Susan. We make the changes to the donation policy for the county. That will have to go to the full board to make those changes, but that should be done hopefully in April, so that we can start accepting those funds or move our existing funds into an account for that. If we still want to set up a Friends of account later on, that's something we can discuss later. But again, I don't see the need to pay a fee if we can keep it in-house.
So I just have to, because that was the reason for looking for an outside group, is because Susan had said we really couldn't be taking funds and
Right.
donations. So That's the whole reason. And that's really, that's a typical rate. And that's actually, I mean, that's very reasonable. I guess you do have to pay a fee, but you're also investing that money. And so you're bringing in interest on that money at the same time. But from my understanding, at least, I don't know that if Susan's changed her mind, but that was my understanding, is that we wouldn't be collecting funds. We shouldn't be taking donations.
Yeah, and from the conversation I
You have to
had,
be set up to do that, for sure.
yeah, the
And
conversation that I
mean, that's
had,
100% for sure.
the conversation I had with Susan last week was just about the existing policy, the where it sat. There was some change that was made near the end of the year that she hadn't had a conversation either with you, Becky, or with Jack about it. And then there's just going to be a few changes that need to get made on our end to open that up so that the county can still do what we need to do. And I can have a further discussion with you, Becky, on this too. When Susan gets back, we can all sit down and go over that so we're all on the same page. But again, that's why it's just kind of on pause at the moment, just because of how I saw the language, how Susan saw the language, and how Susan said we could make the change to keep it in-house. So I'm not saying we won't go with them, but I didn't want to sign anything until Corp Council was 100%
Oh,
on
goodness,
board.
yeah,
with it. So-
don't sign anything, because I think, Becky, one of the things you might want to do is just double check and make sure that we don't have to be a 501c3 to receive any monies, because I'm quite certain that you do if you're doing any kind of a donation type of situation.
Just going back a bit now, this is, I guess, the first time I really got to understand. Once we receive the grant award letter from DNR and with the resources we have in the county, what's the process of actually getting this whole park development, natural playground, that whole area, the 800,000 plus change? When can we start really putting a schedule and time frame and all that stuff together, instead of kind of hashing it out each meeting? What becomes our process then for moving this project to construction?
So from reading the contract that I was sent from SRF, their anticipated start would have been sometime in the fall of this year. And the way that that contract is worded is SRF would act as, and again, I apologize for this, but Rich and Renee will understand. The SRF would be acting like Samuel's Group in this project, where they would be managing the project, hiring out the vendors, and in charge of the construction process with the county as an advisor for their own stuff. That's how that contract is worded, which is what I reached out to Phil for. But again, it was when the stuff is awarded, it would be fall, and I think Jack is probably the one that set that up so that we were outside of our past Ashley for the Arts, because a lot of this stuff is going where those cars were going to be parked during Ashley for the Arts. So this would be an after the fact for either the planting of the prairie buffers, and then the leveling, like bringing in excavators to level the area out and stuff like that would start in the fall, according to the contract. That's how it sits now. Again, once I'm done meeting with Jack and then talking physically with Phil, I'll have a better understanding of how this stuff is going to start at our April meeting.
So at our April meeting, that sounds outstanding, by the way, and thanks for your information this morning. That really puts it all in perspective for getting this project completed or starting it. Is there any action we would need to take as a committee to enhance moving this forward, starting with our April meeting, or what's your thoughts there?
So as it sits right now, no. And if there's a change between now and then, I'd make sure that it was on the agenda, because it would either have to be a resolution, or once I figure out and talk with Becky a little bit more about this remaining CapEx funding source on where that's designated to, then it would be potentially a resolution to kind of combine these accounts into one non-lapsing account. That would be then where donations, that's going to be a Becky and a Susan thing that we change, and if it needs to be a resolution,
Okay.
that would be on the agenda for next month.
I think that answers one of the questions I have, is if there could be a spreadsheet showing us what we have, what we can use, what we can't use, like there's the question of the CapEx money.
Yep.
Do we have to go back to exec and finance to get approval for that to be dedicated to PTED, to the park?
Yeah, and that's, like I said, those are a few of the questions that I plan to reach out to Becky and Susan
Okay.
and just go over. Because again, trying to find some of these numbers took me a little bit too, because since we are in the process of changing from New Vision into Tyler, some of the stuff isn't populated 100% everywhere yet. So those numbers are as accurate as I can guess, or as accurate as I can find, but things will get updated here shortly.
So is it safe to assume that maybe the CapEx money is the only money that's questionable as to whether how much we have and what it can be used for?
Correct, because looking at past minutes, like I said, there was a resolution at one point from here for 162,000 and change, and went from here to exec finance, but I think then it got put on hold. But the cameras were still approved to be taken out of that 164,000 and change. So that's what is remaining after these cameras. It's that remaining amount of the 110, because there's another 30,000 that was taken for snowmobile stuff that I'm still trying to figure out where that's going at the moment. But that remaining, let's say 110 to 120,000 that's sitting in there it's not necessarily parks. So we just need to figure out exactly where it's going, what it's dedicated to before we can write anything down for that.
So then talking about that too, maybe for the April meeting or May, Rich and I were just talking about, is there a plan, an updated plan as to what the equipment is going to be and the cost?
And again, that's everything that I'm trying to figure out with Phil on what's in that contract. And I want to have at least, like you said, a good explanation for you in April, but a well-versed explanation for May. Because in May, it may not be you three that are sitting here. It may be
Right.
two of you or one of you. So anyone that's new
Sure.
needs to be brought up to speed on what's going on, because they're going to be the ones that are potentially making some changes or approving anything. So I want people to be well informed. So there's going to be as much as I can give you in April, and then for a definite rehash of everything come the May meeting, just because of elections.
There was
Thank-
also, excuse me,
I was just going to say, thank you, Jeremy. This is good information.
there was also, when we didn't think we were getting the CapEx funds, there was talk of rebate money that were coming it was a miscellaneous account that would be substituted in. That was about a $60,000 amount. That might be something that pops up, just so you know about it too, Jeremy. There
Yeah,
was
and-
something I
and-
had talked with Rebecca about, but that, I think, was a substitute idea with the CapEx. But if we're getting the CapEx, I'm not sure where that's going. It was a rebate amount money. I was just negotiating and discussing it with Rebecca.
Rebate from what?
It was an electrical rebate that came along
Yeah,
with.
I'll make note of that and
That
try to find
property?
out, but.
Yes.
Is that property or would that be PTED?
We were trying to negotiate where it was going to, because we were looking for substitute funds for the CapEx. If we didn't
Who
get the
was
CapEx,
discussing where it should go?
Rebecca and I were discussing.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought
I
it
just
was
wanted him
committee.
to know that that was something else that might
Okay.
pop up.
So I have a few other things here yet. The rodeo company, the ones that put on the rodeos out there. Over the past month, working with them and Jack, I've actually put a halt on any of their rodeos going forward for the moment. Because I don't know if any of you or all of you aware, about 2 years ago, they did some electrical upgrades to
lighting.
that rodeo area. They put in a brand-new circuit breaker box without the county's approval. Within the past month, that contractor contacted the county because it hadn't been paid. And so they're coming after the county for what that payment is that the rodeo, which we found all the paperwork that shows that that rodeo firm did that work without talking to the county. So, and as it sits, as the last communication I got, that was a $2,200 bill that rodeo firm owed to this electrical contractor. Once we made notice of that, then we reached out to both of them and had them try to set up a payment plan. Well, I think they've paid $500 towards that right now. But as it sits, that rodeo firm still owes the county $1,000 that was set up for you guys, looks like for damages that
It
were
was
done
a
to the
deposit.
turf.
Yeah, that was their deposit that was withheld.
So there was still an outstanding balance of that, and then now still an outstanding balance of $1,600 to a contractor that they kind of put the county on the hook for. So I'm not paying that, but they need to pay that. I have no problem bringing that rodeo back, but they just need to understand they can't just come out and do certain things without approval. Yes, Bob?
That's why we impose that they use a credit card or a line of credit at the bank. So we got hung with some delinquent checks.
Yep.
And damage and all this other stuff. I mean, you just can't operate with some people on a handshake.
Yes.
And an attaboy.
And I think that's on one of the items here on the agenda, the fee structure, or number 14. I don't have all the answers for that. Jack was working on that, but I know that there was going to be some changes to the fee structures, deposits, and how that worked.
Jeremy, if I understood you correctly, they paid $500 to the electrical company?
Correct.
Correct.
So let's say, and these dates are arbitrary, so let's just say on Valentine's Day, the contractor called the county and said, hey, we did some work at Peacher County Park. We have an outstanding balance of $2,100. Looked into it. Okay, the rodeo firm is the one that did this, so then we called that company and said, you need to go hold of this company. So between February 14th and last week, the rodeo firm paid that contractor $500. They may have paid more since then. I haven't gotten any further communications.
Just to finish up, then the contractor, they cashed that check and took the money, correct? $500?
I'm outside of that. Alls I got from the contractor was that the rodeo firm
Well, if
was
they
given,
did,
had paid $500.
I'm sure you're talking to Susan about it, but I tend to believe that once payment has been paid by them and accepted by the other, it's going to be a civil action between them.
Yeah, and again, it's, since I'm just waiting on, the last communication I had is until that bill was taken care of, I just didn't feel comfortable putting them back up because of looking through past history of NSF funds on checks of damages that were done. And again, it's not personal, it's just looking at it on a business perspective. They need to make sure that their balances are zero before we basically extend, I don't want to say extending credit, but it just didn't look good
They
on
should have never
paper.
done that without authorization.
Yeah, so that's where we sit with that. And I'll hopefully have an update for that next month that that's paid in full. And then we've went ahead and scheduled 1 or 2 rodeos for the rest of the year. And he's understanding that that's what needs to happen before we can move forward with any of that.
We had one more question, going back to that grant money of $400,000. Do you know where that's at right now, or if we still have the possibility of receiving that money, and if so, when we'll be notified either way?
The information that I received on that, and again, this is more something Jack can speak to better, is we have tentative award, like a 95% that we're going to get it, but I don't have a date on when it's supposed to come in. That's why we can't start anything until we get that money. But the awarding,
Right.
it's April or May, something like that we're supposed to be getting an award letter. But that's what we're waiting on. So we're banking on getting that. We've been told we're getting that, but until I get the actual letter and either a direct deposit, a big check, or a little check, or whatever it may be, we can't start anything 100% until we can't start that enhancement project until we have that cost.
And Jack had told me it was April was the month that was the hot month that we were going to supposedly get the letter.
Yeah, and
Locking it in.
And again, I'm trying to be as informed as I can, but it's just going from memory because I haven't had a lot of time to sit with Jack, but we're getting better about that. So, and when he gets back, we'll be on board a little bit more.
So that's a program that's kind of been downsized and kind of eliminated, that Knoll Stewardship Program. And what do we have in our back pocket if this falls through? I mean, we've been stringing the Shank family along for 4 and 5 years already.
That's actually one of the next things that I have is about that. So if for some reason that didn't come to pass, that Knowles Nelson grant, well, I still technically have, at least with minus that 110 that's questionable, we still have at least 300,000 that's set aside for park improvements. So a question that I had that I've never asked Jack, and maybe you guys know, this whole park enhancement project, I know it started as a pond and a bridge. Who drew up the natural play area? Was that the PTED committee that said this is what we'd like to see, or was it SRF that came in and said this is what we'd like to do, or was it Reed, or was it Jack?
It was SRF.
Okay, they're the ones that
They
came
drew
back
it
with
up.
it.
They were looking for an alternative.
They drew it up, but the committee talked about it, and we determined, working together, like this would be a good thing to work toward.
Yep,
And then we had a lot of
yeah.
conversations about what we'd want at that park, because we wanted to incorporate the hills and slides. And then SRF designed it.
Yep, and that's fine. I just didn't know the answer to that question because I hadn't asked Jack yet, and Reed and Dave aren't around. So if for some reason that Knowles Nelson didn't come to pass, and we still have X amount of dollars, well, then it would be Jack and I, and then bringing the committee a few things. This is what we can do with this money. We can, if we can't do the natural play area, which is already set up, and it is what it is, but then we would look at either grading that area out, or building some berms, or putting some cabins, or doing something with that money since we already have it. But it would just, I need to find out that we have the funds from that Knowles Nelson before I commit yes or no, which I don't think we're not gonna get it, but again, it's nice to be prepared, because there's always still that, it's a 95% yes, but there's still that 5% that something could happen. Which leads to what you brought up with the Schenk family. So that was another question that I brought up to Susan and Jack, is when I look at the deed that the Schenk family signed for us to the county, they deeded us that 6 acres, 6.1 acres, whatever it was, on the 31st of 21, with the caveat that we had 3 years in order to start doing things. So that technically expired December 31st, 2024. Going by the deed, we should have either then purchased that land or given it back. I know that Jack has had conversations and Reed that with that family that has been, okay, we have approval to continue to do that. But I did have Jack send a letter to them so that we could at least have it on paper, signed, that he's understanding that we had some changes to the plan. We did get an email back that just says, from the Schenk family, that just says, that sounds good, but I still need, even with Susan, Jack's gonna end up having to go out there with him just to go over that letter and just get a signature. Because again, it's been 4.5 years, a year past what we have, and the family's been very good to the county on letting us continue. I just want it to be documented and legal so that we don't start building this play structure and then something happens. So that'll be taken care of hopefully by the April meeting too. And the last thing was just informative that I didn't bring up at the last meeting because we were still working on it, but the Parks Department had been paying a fee for a railroad crossing for the past few years, but we couldn't figure out where it was for. All it just said was snowmobile crossing in Trempealeau County. And my question was, there's a railroad crossing to get into Peachert Park. Working with that Canadian National Rail Lines, I think it is, we're gonna end up changing the verbiage on that, because it is actually for the railroad crossing to get into Peachert Park. Instead of, it used to be a snowmobile crossing, it was never updated on their verbiage. It's a public crossing, we don't have to put anything down. But if for some reason we had stopped paying that, the railroad could have essentially taken away that access, which really would have been bad, because that's really the only way to get into Peachert Park. So that was working with the Canadian Rail Lines and with Susan. And so I have the paperwork that goes along with it for the rail lines, and we'll keep that in-house, and then that bill will actually reflect what we're paying, so that any future person that's taking over it, it shows what we're paying it for. And it's not much, it's only $300 a year, but it needs to get paid.
That was gonna be the next question I was gonna ask, is how much they're charging, because that could be expensive.
Yeah, it's not much, but again, it's something that if it slipped through the cracks, or the fact that it just said snowmobile crossing, and there's hundreds of places that maybe the snowmobiles could cross a railroad here in the county, technically. But that's all I really have for that. Most of my stuff was informative and just an overabundance of information that I'll have hopefully more narrow.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
Has the independent school district been reimbursed for that mix-up when they had to cross-country track? Has a check ever been issued?
I'll look into it, but as far as I understand, yes, because you guys would have, you talked about it in one meeting, then you had to carry it over for approval in the next. And I believe from there it was approved, and then so I can follow up with,
If a check has
with
been
either
issued?
with Stacy or the treasurer, just to make sure that it was $100 or something.
Whatever
100
they
and
charge them
change, or-
for a rental.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that, but yeah, it should have been taken care of because it was approved. And then I know Jack had set up something with one of the local Boy Scout troops that were gonna use the cloth shelter at one point. Again, that would have been free of charge, but then they said, they just emailed the other day, said they didn't need it, so.
Did Jack show you that maintenance thing for the horse arena that I put together? Suggestions, it was basically a description of what it was and kind of giving the background of the arena. It was a single page, but I can email it to you if you want a
If you
copy.
would,
Yeah,
I would
no
appreciate
problem,
that,
Jeremy.
because then I'll go through that. Because
'Cause
I
we
know
just
the
took
only
the
other
size.
conversation I had with him was, which I brought up to you guys last month, was purchasing a drag with some of these monies that would go
Right.
along with the four-wheeler that I'll take from here and put at the parks during the summer to help drag that area out to
And
keep
it
it.
had recommendations on drag, different, and it also had what the reimbursement, for that deposit, what that should be invested in. Because
Okay.
what the primary for safety, there was two levels. There was a basic level and an advanced level. And if they ever start hosting performances, there was access to information on what would need to be done if it was going to actually be rented out for horse performances and stuff. So that we'd be up to the level to make it safe for that. And the basic was just for having 4-H kids come out and use it for a practice facility.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah,
we're
you send me
covered.
what you have, I'll look over and whatever needs to get done with that, so,
Sounds good.
all right.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Jeremy.
Yep.
Appreciate all that information.
Any other questions on my long-winded? No, okay.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. That was outstanding. Say, guys, I gotta leave now. I got an appointment I gotta get to, so have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Buzz.
Won-
You bet. Bye.
Wonderful. Then we're to the future agenda items. I think everyone can see those. Our next meeting date is set for Tuesday, April 7th at 8:30. And then I think we can entertain a motion to
Lori, we've
adjourn.
got a couple more items. Lori, look at your agenda, please.
Oh,
The resolutions
sorry,
need to be
maybe-
worked on.
Number-
Okay, thank
Number
you.
15.
15, sorry. Thank you very much. Resolutions, applying for Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Snowmobile Trails AIDS Program.
I'm sorry, Lori, I said 15, it was 13.
It's for the dual entrance resolution. Lori.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. So the amendments to the sample request for the proposal for construction of the dual directional entrance signage at Petrick Park,
So I kind of touched on that in the originals. I just need to know,
right?
I have a few samples and styles, but I just don't know where the money's coming from. If it's part of that SRF stuff, or if we're going to have to take it out of if I have to take it out of the capital improvement projects that are this year, then that will change what I have remaining. So, like I said, the signage, I had two, and I know you guys are more prone to the ones that are dual, you see it from either way that sticks out a little bit more. So I have the same similar signage, but there's no, I don't want to move forward with any of that until I know how we're paying for it, because I don't have,
Between now and the next meeting, could you maybe send us a copy, email us a copy of what you're looking at?
Yep.
And for design, and then second of all, maybe between now and then, you could talk to executive finance or find out where that money's supposed to be. If it's with this Parks Committee, or if it went back to executive finance.
well,
John, you don't know, do you?
that CapEx stuff, that's one that I'll have a conversation with Becky about.
Yeah, okay. That
But
way
yeah,
we-
because that's where it would end up coming from. But yes, I can send to the committee the mock-ups that we have, because I have some that Jack had.
Right.
And then I had some recommendations that we had gotten from Rebecca, and then some stuff that I had gotten from like sign art and stuff like that.
Then
It's,
maybe next month, then we can move on it.
yeah, it's just because I can't go too much more, because Jack had quite a few that were drawn up. And there was one contractor that he was working with that if I continue to work with them, then I'm going to start incurring design fees, because he had made so many changes from A to B at the
Originally.
beginning of these. So then we got to a point where it would have been paying for their digital artwork. So I have some basic designs. Again, they're based on one of the pictures that I'd shown you guys before that's similar to Merrick State Park, Perot State Park, a few of the others. It's just the natural stone. Some of them are similar to like that Welcome to Arcadia sign type stonage, because it's the natural Trempealeau County stone colors, with just the Joe Petrick Jr. Memorial Park, and then some.
Well, we kind of voted on a signage design a while ago. I mean, we've been monkeying around here for a year,
Yeah, and I've seen those, and then it started, and then it got.
but nothing
pulled-
gets finished.
And then it got pulled back, so.
Can I ask, or this is at least the way I think it should be done, and I guess what I had hoped is, okay, now we had determined the sign design that people wanted, kind of gives us an idea of cost, and now we need the whole park, and then Jack said there's costs for like the entrance, the I'll say like the roadway, that type of, okay, and the sign. Let's get an idea of what the whole package cost is for the entire project that we want at that park. And then that way we can, otherwise we don't know when we're looking at our budgeting and how, how much we could set aside, but also the discussion, then we need to know what the whole thing costs so that we can go and talk to possible donators. That's what I was thinking the process was, but I'll leave that up to discussion, I guess.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, I looked, and there's been a few signs that have been brought up by Jack, and some were more of like a boulder style one, and then some were just some stone ones, and then, so there was a few designs, and the last one that I'd seen was more of the stone ones with the lights on the front that were dual directional, and then it was just placed back from the railroad sign. But again, now the question comes up, is that part of that SRF package for the
It
park
never wa-
enhancement?
Yeah, it never was included with SRF.
But on one of the contract forms, it does say signage, and what I needed to get from Phil to figure out if it's for that front entrance signage or if it's the signage
No, it's for
through
the
the park.
individual areas is what that signage was
Yeah,
referring to.
so all that stuff will be hopefully at the April meeting that we can finally start to move forward. Because I know we had started at one point in time, because we actually, you guys, I think, came out and poured some concrete for that.
About the size of it, and we poured the concrete for them.
Yeah, and then I think what changed was then it was a bigger sign, which then became the concrete that was poured wasn't gonna be thick enough. It wasn't gonna be a big enough platform, and I don't know, I brought rebar out there. Did you guys put rebar in it and everything? So it was just, the base of that sign now became bigger. So then it was a bigger piece of concrete pad, so.
Well, I would like to comment that Rebecca's comment about having a comprehensive plan, including costs, probably is a good way to go, because then you know where you can take away, put in, our whole pocket of money, our whole budget.
Yeah, and I get, and I can see where Bob's coming from, and I know it's gotta be frustrating for all of you too, but there's been so many, cooks in the kitchen on this thing. They started with
Yes.
Reed, and then it went to Dave, and then it went to Jack, and then, and everything has changed just a little bit. And then when certain things change, well, then, unfortunately, the way that some of this stuff works, you make one change, and then the government, you start everything over again, because you had to change the verbiage in a resolution, or change the way that the funding was set up. So, that's why working with Jack, and then working with Becky to try to figure out the donation stuff that's going along with it, working with SRF to get a clear picture of what this contract entails, and then just saying, okay, here's what we have, here's the Knowles Nelson grant that we got, this is the full package, and then working with SRF to start having everything done. I am confident that by third quarter of this year, you'll start seeing some changes out at the park, which, again, like you just stated, it's been a few years that these conversations have started, so I'd like to see some groundbreaking on something for everybody involved. But again, that's that item 13, I kind of touched on that, but that's where we sit with that, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that, guys?
We should have one thing now, that since we started the mud season, maybe shut the gate on the park.
Yeah. Good idea, with the frost and everything. And
Yeah,
the rain.
there's no frost in the ground. and-
Yeah, I was out there last week, and I was tracking any place that it was, I stayed out of the wet spots, but when I turned out, I went to the arena, and you could, if you would've drove over there, it would've had a heck of a mess.
Because
I
I
would
know
think
this
that-
week, we're supposed to have warmer weather and rain. Well, you know what you're gonna have then is soup.
I would think that Jack has a handle on that. I mean, I would hope.
Yeah, but he's
Although
not around.
If he's not around, but is he working? Jeremy, I don't know, maybe,
Remote periodically, I have his.
Yeah, you won't close the gate.
yeah, and
But I
maybe
mean,
you
just
could-
pull the
maybe you
gate
could-
shut and put the lock on it.
I'm not exactly sure if his wife had their child last week or today, so I haven't heard from him. I haven't heard from him.
It was due the 22nd is all I know.
Well, and induction was scheduled, so I haven't heard from him, so I don't know where he was.
Yeah, 22nd, he said they're gonna induce. I was working with him on that horse arena stuff, and so I was touching base with him quite a bit. But I was out there, it does need to be closed, the gate needs to be closed, and I can close it if that's what you guys need.
Yes, if that's the issues, I'm sure somebody can close it, correct?
Yeah, I'm not too far from it, Lori. That's my district.
Good.
Yeah, that's fine. Either way. But it was really soft when I was over. I didn't dare drive to the arena. I walked because otherwise I would have tore it up.
That, for that sign, that was gonna cover, because see, and they keep asking me.
Well,
when to use it.
when you leave a track, you know not to go there. And I came in and it was firm for the first 100 yards and then it wasn't.
Mom and dad died, we donated over $1,000. Donnie Claus died, his family donated in memory of their mom and dad.
Okay, and then anything else on 13?
Was supposed to be in a fund from a donation, but I mean,
Otherwise, we'll go ahead and move to 14, which is policies, fee structures and procedures. And I kind of thought that Jeremy had mentioned that he's got some work to do with Susan on that. Is that still correct, Jeremy?
Yeah, we're gonna have to put that on for next month, Lori, because Jack's not available for consultation.
Correct. Okay, that sounds great. And then 15 is resolutions applying for the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Snowmobile Trails AIDS Program. Do we need to do two things separate, the maintenance grant from 2025 to 2026 and the County NN Bridge replacement?
I'll make a motion to
separate?
accept the maintenance grant, to apply for that maintenance
Okay.
grant, since we only had about 36 hours of snowmobiling this year.
Let,
Do we have a second?
second, and we can have somebody read the resolution also, Lori. Renee volunteered to read the resolution.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Renee.
Sure, this is the snowmobile, okay. Oops, what happened there? Hang on, bear with me. I had it up and then it went down. Okay, I'll just,
Yep, the screen works.
There you go.
so this is a snowmobile trail maintenance grant 2025. 2025 to 2026, whereas Trempealeau County currently has 259.1 miles of state-funded snowmobile trail that provides important outdoor recreation opportunity to residents as well as visitors, and whereas this network of trails must be maintained through activities such as clearing debris and trail grooming to ensure the trails are safe and passable, and whereas this work is done on behalf of Trempealeau County by several different snowmobile clubs under the umbrella of the Associated Snowmobile Clubs of Trempealeau County, and whereas maintenance costs are reimbursable through a maintenance grant provided by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, also known as DNR, based on a formula which considers number of trail miles, and whereas Trempealeau County, as the state-recognized county snowmobile coordinator, must submit a maintenance grant request to the DNR, as well as track and reimburse eligible costs to the clubs. Now be it resolved that the county administrator is authorized to submit the grant request, accept snowmobile grant funds to be deposited into account 101.43571, snowmobile trails, and to administer and provide reimbursement payments review for account 101.55440.395, trail maintenance, regarding the cost of maintenance, maintaining the trails, introduced by Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development, Lori Severson, Renee Lyon, Kevin Whalen, Kevin Adams, Richard Anderson, Jean Galazinski, Bob Petrick, and Bob Sorgi.
All right, do we need, we have I guess we have a motion on that. Do we have any discussion? I guess, do we have a second on that, Kevin?
I seconded it.
Okay, great. So then, if we have no discussion, I guess we can just go to the vote. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Then we have the County NN Bridge replacement.
Do you want me to read that?
Is that one?
I just
Can you pull that one
lost
up?
my stuff, yep,
Or
got
grab
it,
that one?
thank you.
Got it, girl.
County and Bridge Replacement Project. Whereas Trumbull County currently has 259.1 miles of state-funded snowmobile trails that provide important outdoor recreation opportunities to residents as well as visitors. And whereas this network of snowmobile trails also contributes significantly to our local economy by drawing visitors to this area who spend money on gas, lodging, groceries, supplies, and dining. And whereas a number of these trails require bridges to traverse bodies of water or other terrain safely. And whereas Trumbull County, in coordination with the area snowmobile clubs, annually assess the need for bridge repair or replacement, and Trumbull County, as part of this process, has identified the county and bridge in Osseo, which is located on state-funded trail, as a bridge in need of replacement. And whereas Trumbull County intends to apply for funding for the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, DNR, to be able to complete the bridge replacement project. Now therefore, be it resolved that the county administrator is authorized to submit the grant request for this bridge replacement expense will be coded account 101.55440.393 special project, and funds to be deposited into account 101.43572 DNR grants, introduced by Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development, Lori Severson, Renee Lyon, Kevin Whalen, Kevin Adams, Richard Anderson, Gene Gillizinski, Bob Petrig, Buds Sorgi.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we're in number 16. We have our future agenda items. Is there anything else that we need to add to that?
Lori, the only thing I would ask for is that Jeremy's going to bring to us next month, I think, correct, the numbers?
Yes.
And then furthermore, if Becky can put together the cost that she was talking about and present it next month to this committee, because my thought is that after next month, there could be a whole different committee on here, and it'll take a while to bring people up to speed if that does happen. So I would suggest and ask that she presents that next month, or if we have to have a special meeting to do that as well.
I think that's a good idea, because I think we need to, if we're gonna get an announcement soon on this grant, we want to be ready to pull everything together. So
Yes.
I'll work with Jeremy and Jack. Yeah.
Thank you, Becky. That sounds great. Anything else, guys, that you can think of that we need to add for a future agenda item?
I guess what we should have on there is what we're gonna do with that canoe landing down there. If we're gonna start over from square one, or relocate, or go from there. But I mean, this is March.
I'll talk with you a little bit after too, but I did at the fishing contest, left my card with Shabilla to try to get some, I just haven't heard from him yet, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a better than that, what was there present, so, but yeah, I should have an update on that too, as soon as I get.
So we're gonna go ahead and add that for next meeting? Okay, great. Anything else? Then the next meeting date is Tuesday, April 7th at 8:30. And then I think we need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Have a great day.